Howdy y'all. Today we've got a battle report. We're looking at Seraphon versus some Clan Pestilence. I'll be playing Seraphon, and Axton here will be playing Clan Pestilence. One objective we're trying to do here today is just look and see if the Flamethrower Stegadons are any good. If they can be legitimate in a list and play against a horde army. So we're bringing the most horde army I have and see how the Flamethrowers stack up against them. So here's the Seraphon list here. We've got it in Thunder Lizard and Coalesced with Lord Kroak, of course, for the command points and overall just awesomeness. He's taking the spell Stellar Tempest to see if we can deal with some hordes with that spell as well. Engine of the Gods, because we got to go all Stegadons as much as we can. He'll also try to summon me in some bodies, and that's always kind of nice. Also, if there is a chance he gets the 3 6s on the Cosmic Engine roll, maybe we can double up on some flamethrowers. The Stegadon on Skink Chief, he's going to be my general. He's going to have Prime Warbeast, which gives +1 to the mount attacks, which is important for this build out because flamethrowers on the Stegadons, they have a rule that says they count as the mount for rules purposes. So any weapon that the little guys riding on top have counts as the mount. So that gives you an extra roll for the flamethrowers. If you don't know what the flamethrowers do, every model within 8 inches in the shooting phase, you roll a dice for, and on a 5-up, it does immortal. So you get to do it twice with Prime Warbeast. So hopefully we can get some extra damage out of that. The Artefact, we're going to take the Fusil of Conflaguration. That's the one we have to in Thunder Lizards. That gives you some mortals at range in the shooting phase. We also have a Skink Starpriest with Hand of Glory. That's basically your reroll 1s to hit. And a Skink Priest. Those two guys are going to be paired up with my block of 40 Skinks with, it says Moonstone Clubs and Starbucklers there. That's not right. They have the Boltspitters and the Starbucklers. And then I have 3 Stegadons as my battle line. They all have Sunfire throwers, the flamethrowers, and their battle line since we're in Thunder Lizards. And that comes out to exactly 2,000 points. We don't have any battalions and we don't start with any command points, but hopefully we'll generate enough from Kroak. And we're just testing out the flamethrower, see what they can do. So on to SKAVEN's list. Here's what we got for SKAVEN Tide. We've got 2 Plague Priest Furnaces. And the first one is going to be our general with the Verminous Valor. And that gives you the 5-up pass-off to the rats that are around you. And so he should have a 4-up save, a 5-up pass-off to the rats, and then another 5-up save. His artifact, we're taking the Griff Feather Charm, and that gives us another -1 to hit. The SKAVEN have a unique rule where as long as they're not a monster, which for some weird reason the Plague Furnaces aren't, so that's cool, they get -1. They get Lookout Sir in combat and to shooting. And so this Plague Furnace will be basically -2 in shooting and in combat, so it makes it real tough. He's going to be the one that goes along with the Congregation of Filth Battalion, so that that kind of group of a Furnace and 80 Plague Monks will be pretty tough. And then the other Plague Furnace, we're given Liber Bubonicus, which is, he basically gets extra prayer rolls. And so because of the reading on the War Scroll, it says if he's a Plague Priest, he gets to do the Plague Priest's prayers twice. And so it calls out the actual Plague Priest's plague wording. And so as far as I know, you get to roll 1 prayer for the Plague Furnace, and then you can roll 2 for the Plague Priest's War Scroll prayers. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I can tell, that's how that's supposed to work. I think they meant for it to be you can re-roll his prayer, basically. You can roll it twice. But based on, read it as written, you get to roll 3 prayers for that Plague Furnace. So we're basically we're searching for the Great Plagues, and we're searching for like some damage dealing once he gets in combat. We've also got a Verminlord Corruptor as our caster. Nothing on him, nothing special on him. Thought about taking the Sword of Judgment, but all the Stegadons won't be heroes or monsters since they're battle line. They lose the monster keyword. So the Sword of Judgment wouldn't be too good on him. So Then we've got 160 Plague Monks, all with woe staves, so they can hit from 2 inches out, basically 3 ranks deep. And so you got a bunch of those. And Congregation of Filth for 80 of the Plague Monks, and that will be an extra 6-up after save. So it comes out to 1960, and we forgot to add in a spell or anything else, or Triumph, so he started at a slight disadvantage. We should have put in like the Bell or the Vermintide or something like that. All right, so on to our armies. Here's some pictures of the armies. There's all those beautiful, beautiful Plague Monks. I mean, horrible, horrible Plague Monks.
No, beautiful.
There's a whole bunch of them. That's army showcase here. And they won't be set up on those movement trays. Those movement trays are really nice, but not really useful to play with, unfortunately. Here's my army. We got the 5 Stegadons, Kroak, and 40 Skinks to play with. A little pretty colorful there. We are going to play shifting objectives, and on this one, at the beginning of each battle round, you pick or you roll for one of those objectives, and it's worth 3 points instead of just 1, as the other ones will be. So it's going to be a fight over the middle there. So on our deployment here, so we've got our deployment set up. And I've got 1 unit that's over here. I've got my Skinks and my 1 Stegadon, not the hero variant, and then the 2 heroes that are going to buff those Skinks. I'm thinking I can get into this Plague Furnace because it's the one that does the prayers. It doesn't have all the extra saves. And I'm hoping that if I can get the run and shoot turn 1, then I can take out that Plague Furnace. We'll see. Oh, on deployment, you'll notice the pyramid is on his side. Yes, I lost the roll-off for who gets to pick sides. So he got my pyramid. So I do have more drops than him, and so he elected for me to go first. But here's deployment. I put my Kroak back here and engine right here to try to summon some stuff onto this objective. I'm probably not going to focus too much on that objective. I'm going to try to take this one and this one over here. I've got a whole bunch of Stegadons over on that left side. Let's see what the next picture is. Yeah. So I've got a whole bunch of, I've got 3 Stegadons on this side to hold this one down, and I want to try to get into those. I can't get it for turn 1 just because of how short range it is, and you don't really have any tricks to run and shoot on this side of the board. And we don't have, I didn't take the battalion of Thunderquake. Thunderquake you might be able to get in, but probably not, because you don't quite have enough range to get within 8 inches of a whole lot of guys. He's got his Congregation of Filth up here on the top left. Those are all the monks that will have an extra 6-up after save. And then this guy is the -2 to hit, so he's going to be pretty nasty. But I'm just going to try to blow up all those monks and leave that guy with nothing to move him around. This Vermin Lord Corruptor's in the middle with another 40 Plague Monks. He'll be coming after this one. I'm probably just going to have to leave him alone. I don't really have enough threat there in the middle. We'll see if the Kroak can do some damage to those hordes or not. There's his setup. He's got his gnaw hole there, and then 1 on each side here. So if he had wanted to, he could have taken turn 1 and popped through there, but he let me have turn 1 since I don't really have a big threat turn 1. There's my pyramid on his side, his setup. So in my first turn, there's my roll for the Skink Priest. He rolled a 2, so it's rough when the whole strategy relies on that one roll. But now my Skinks, they're not going to have enough range to get across and shoot anything, so they're going to be more just capping that first objective. So we roll. We're going all the way to the shooting phase apparently in this picture, where I roll my first summons. So I get my first summons there. Well, hopefully we'll show a picture of where we moved here, so I can show you where we've moved. I'm moving this one up just to try to capture that first objective, and we get another summons. So we got 2 summons out of the Engine of the Gods the first turn. That was pretty nice. That's pretty vital. And so now we've got what I'm hoping will be just at least 2 screens to keep them in. I couldn't get them any closer because of 9 inches, and they have to be within 12 of this guy. But hopefully it'll give me a couple screens before these guys get in, and I can have a few turns to get Kroak onto some Plague Monks. Good grief. I guess I don't have a picture of where we moved. Basically, what all I did was I moved my Stegadons up just barely within 6 of here, and then the Skinks barely within 6 of here. And so that way, when he's coming down with these Plague Monks, they can't make a charge into my stuff because they can only move 6. And if I'm just barely inside 6, that would be basically a 12-inch charge. So it's going to be really far away, and he shouldn't be able to make that turn 1. And he's going to be forced to run his guys, so probably score the objectives. But then if I can get the next turn, I can do some heavy damage, and I shouldn't take too many losses turn 1. So turn 1, I score 5. I get all the objectives. On his turn, he runs this side of the board. He gets the prayer off for the monks, so they have +1 to their attacks. He has to run them, and now they're within range of the objective, so that's fine. I know that if I get the next turn, I'll be able to destroy a lot of stuff with these guys. If he gets the next turn, I might lose this entire right wing. So there's his side. On this side, he just gets outside of 3, ready to pounce and charge those Source Warriors. And he did not opt to send anything through the null hole. There just wasn't really a good target, and didn't hop in the pyramid because he kind of wanted to support the Plague Monks. So again, the pyramid, the Realm Shaper engine, is not too useful this turn or this game. On this side, he shoves his Plague Furnace forward. He gets prayer off on the left monks here, so they have +1 to their attacks. And these guys are up in front to try to block for them. And most definitely scores that objective, as he has a ton in range. So looking at this, if he gets the next turn, I'm dead, because he's got so many Plague Monks that can get in. Even I'm backed up pretty far. But if I can get the next turn, then I'll have basically all my flamethrowers in range. So that next turn is going to be pretty vital. On his charge,
12-inch charge.
That wasn't this turn. I think that was the next turn.
Oh.
Yeah. But this one, he did get a good... I think he still got a good charge on this one. And he got to where he got a couple of attacks into this unit here to start sending them. But he's most definitely going to kill these Source Warriors, because he's got so many rats in there. He was out of range to get the reroll hits, but it didn't matter on these guys. And so that's how it ended. I piled in a few Source Warriors, but couldn't really do anything there. They killed off a few rats, maybe. Looks like 4. So that's how turn 1 ended, 5-5. And I think this next, if I didn't win this next roll off, I was gonna lose. So I needed to win this one. Here's how the turn ended. Right there. Oh, this was showing where the special objective went. I think it stayed over here, didn't it? It started over here and it stayed over here.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So our roll off, I did win by 1. So that meant the game was going to keep going. That was good. So here's my movement. I'm getting in range for everything. And I want this chief. I wanted to get him into like right here in the middle so I could get these. But I just couldn't manage it with their big old bases. So he's gonna fly right into here, get a whole bunch. He's gonna shoot into hopefully both, and then that one's gonna shoot there. So my engine just kind of moved up. I'm almost abandoning this middle one. And I'm going to send this guy over here to support if I can. Kroak is getting closer to try to cast a spell there. So his Stellar Tempest spell, so he can blow up some of those rats. And that was that movement. Over here, I just bunched in these Skinks because I want to try to shoot. I think I ended up shooting rats off because I figured he was going to be -1 to hit, and already these guys are hitting on 5s. You can get them down to 4s with a command point, which is what I did. But I wanted to try to just kill off bodies. If I can kill off the bodies, I'll have this objective. So that was the plan. I think I ended up shooting all these guys into the Skinks and then shooting his flamethrower into those skinks as well, or into those monks as well. Same thing. So here's after the Skink Chief activated, and I wrote down how much he did. He did 20. Well, he did almost 30 mortals in his turn. It was pretty awesome. He had a ton in range, and getting to double tap it, he did pretty awesome. The first Stegadon I did, which was the one that was over on this side, he's a normal one, so he didn't have anything too special. He had 22 dice, but he only put out 6 mortal wounds, so that one wasn't quite as good. But the Stegadon Chief just absolutely blew up that unit there. The second Stegadon, which was this one here, he didn't have a whole lot in range at this point. And so he only had 4 or 5 in range, and he got 1 mortal through. Not a big deal. And then the third Stegadon Chief, I had to write these down so I could remember it because I wanted to see how well they did. The third Stegadon Chief had these guys in range, and he got 6 out. So both of the normal Stegadons with flamers, even though they had quite a few in range, like 22, 20, 24, they were only getting 6 mortals, which is statistically about right. But the Stegadon Chief getting to multiple dice rolls for that was pretty big, and so he was able to clear out quite a bit, and he had quite a bit more in range, I think, once you included the entire range of 8. By the time these guys were firing, we had cleared out 1 horde, and so they didn't quite have as many dice. So I liked them. I was hoping to take out more of this unit because if you've ever played against Plague Monks, a few of them can do a ton of damage. So,
Yep.
So that's all I got there. So now I'm going to have to try to charge, and we're going to try to take some of these monks out in combat. So you can see the dead pile here on that left side. This is dead pile from after the Skinks and the Stegadon have shot. And so I'm going to have to charge in the Skinks and the Stegadon because the Stegadon, they can do a ton of damage, but just the regular old Stegadon usually doesn't do. He may not be able to clear that much. And so I'm going to send in my Skinks too just in case so I can get a couple extra attacks. And they still are doing the mortals in the combat phase, so that was the point there. In the shooting, I think I did 1 set of mortals to the Verminlord Corruptor in that shooting phase, and then also got 1 summons. So in 2 turns, I got 2 summons. That's not too shabby. I'll take that. So we're pumping out some bodies there. Hopefully this will give me enough screens to keep these guys off, to keep these monks busy. We shall see. Let's see, next picture, combat. So we go into combat here. We try to put some mortals on that furnace, but he's got a 5-up basically to mortals, so he's passing them off, not taking a whole lot of damage. And that plague furnace, if you look at the war scroll, he can do on a 2-up roll, that little sensor thing, that big old ball of warpstone, can do 4 plus D3 mortals. So it can be pretty nasty. And then it has a thing where it does an extra mortal at the end of combat. So it can do 8 mortals basically for free there. I mean, it's pretty nice. And he's so tough. I'm not going to be able to do any damage to him because he's -2 to hit. And he has lots of pass-offs. So we really just need to try to kill off these Plague Monks as best we can. So, all right, so combat. Is that all the Plague Monks I killed with that first Stegadon? It may have been.
Yeah, 1 Plague Monk right there.
Yeah, he had 1 Plague Monk there that piled in. These Stegadons didn't do a whole lot of damage here. I even spent a command point, I think, on each one of them to give them +1 to their attacks from the Chief. But that didn't do quite as much as I had hoped. Over here on the right side, we cleared off all the Plague Monks. And luckily, we're outside of 3 of this Plague Furnace. Just barely. It was like maybe a millimeter or 2. Because he would have been able to activate the big sensor thing that would you would pretty much kill this guy if you could get a good roll. So we have this objective, and this guy basically can't move the rest of the game because he's got no rats around him, so he's stuck there. So we're just going to ignore him. As long as we keep 1 model inside of 6 of this, we're going to hold this the rest of the game. So So at the end of my turn, I score 1 point. Unfortunately, just the one on this side, because the one on the left side, he still had enough Plague Monks. I was hoping to clear out all of those that turn. I killed, probably 60, but it just wasn't quite enough. So on his turn, he surrounds this screen unit with his monks and brings in the Verminlord Corruptor. This guy over here is stuck. He does get off a Great Plague, which we were going to use the one where you can control a hero for that combat phase. But we realized that the Stegadon over here isn't a hero, so that wouldn't work. So he did the one for D6 Mortals, rolled a 1. And then his other 2 prayers went off. And he was going to do D3 Mortals to everybody on a 4-up. And he failed every single 4-up on both of those rolls. So he had a chance. I think he could have killed that Stegadon just by sitting there and not even moving, but failed basically all the rolls he needed. Over here, he did some... I don't think we showed it, but I think the Stegadon Chief was that Sensor Bear thing had taken out a whole bunch of mortals, right? Mm-hmm. It had put a bunch of mortals on the Skink Chief. So the Skink Chief was hurting. He was down to like 2 or 3 wounds. And so this next turn, I knew he was going to die because that furnace was just going to smack him with the sensor thing again. So there was movement. The only movement was really there in the middle. The Verminlord Corruptor is coming in, looking nasty with all those Plague Monks. These Source Warriors don't have a chance. Oh, he makes a 12-inch charge plus 1. So he had 13. So he pulled them around this way, and half of them around this way, so he could get the Verminlord Corruptor in, and he could take out both screen units. So that was unfortunate. Well, it was fortunate for you, I guess. So those Source Warriors are not going to survive that. He also kept them in range of 13, so he could get the reroll all the hits with the command point. So those guys are 100% going to die. Over here, after combat, the Plague Monks took out this Stegadon that was on this left side. He was already hurting a little bit from the previous combat, but they got their prayer off to give him +1 to attacks, and they just chewed right through that Stegadon. And then the Stegadon Chief, he was able to attack into this guy first, but he's just too tough. And the Censor did its mortals to the Stegadon Chief and killed him off. So now I've just got this one Stegadon here. Not a whole lot of wounds left. And we'll see what happens. There in the middle, we cleared out all the Source Warriors. And now I'm terrified, because if I don't get... If he gets the double turn, basically my entire army's dead. So I'm still doing okay over here, but it's not looking good. Maybe if the objective can pop over to the right side, I can hold this down for a little while, and maybe I have a chance there. So at the end of his turn, he scores 4, so it's 9-6 at this point. And now the roll-off is fairly important, and he wins the roll-off. So, yep, I rolled a 1 on that one. And I think the objective, it stayed over here on the left side, didn't it?
Stayed there.
So it bounced between, I think it started here first turn and then stayed here the next 2 turns. So, I think you got off a couple prayers. One, you may have gotten off one of the Great Plagues that did, that's like a horde killer, and killed off a bunch of those skinks in that one. And then this time got off the other prayers that did the mortals and was actually successful in getting the mortals off. So he killed off quite a few skinks in that hero phase. And here is not a good sign when you see this many Plague Monks coming towards your 2 support characters. If I can get the Engine of the God to attack first, or if I can get Kroak to attack first, then I can do some damage with those guys, because Kroak does a good horde killing, and the Engine is just pretty good in combat. So, but if he attacks there first, then I'm dead. There's the look of you're going down.
Yep.
The charge is pretty good. He gets in quite a few, keeps him within 13 of the Corruptor to get the reroll to hits. And now my Kroak is thinking about heading back up to Azir, departing the battlefield. And after combat, he activates the monks first, and sure enough, he kills both of them quite easily. It was something like, I think you put 30 saves on the Kroak.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it was close. Kroak, he failed one more save than what he needed to stay alive. The engine, it was something like 60 saves or something like that. He was dead regardless. It was insane. Over here, we're just we're punching at each other, but the Censor is really only doing the mortals. That's most of his damage because my Stegadon is a 3-up save versus that one model. I am able to kill off some more monks, but unfortunately not able to kill off enough. I rolled real poorly on this guy. He hits on 3s and 3s on everything, and I was rolling 2s and 2s for just about everything, I think. By the way, it looks like a crossbow there. That's not what's on it. We're playing as flamethrowers. So he has 2 wounds left going into my turn, and my turn is not looking good. So he scores 4 points. I still hold the one on the right. He holds the one in the middle and the one on the left. Going into my turn, it's not looking all that good. I charged in this guy here, just thinking, I don't have anything else I can do with him. I can't make him over here in the next 2 turns. He just goes too slow. So let's see if we can kill this guy off. Maybe we can. He doesn't have... He has a 5-up after save, but other than that, he doesn't have any minuses to hit because he's got no monks around him. So surely I can take him out with a Stegadon. We'll see. My plan is to run these guys this way and hopefully kill him with enough shots. And if I get the double turn, then I can take this one. And if on the double turn the objective comes to one of these sides, maybe there's a chance. I didn't do the math, but that was the plan. I'm going to keep playing. So over here, I retreated the Stegadon because he's only got 1 health left, and so unless I could kill this guy, which I absolutely cannot, because he was still -1 to hit in combat. He was going to kill this guy just based on the 1 mortal wound at the end of combat. So I had to retreat him, and if I got the next turn, I might just suicide him into these monks. If I can kill off that Corruptor with enough skink shots, and then kill these guys off with some flamethrowers, maybe I can make them run. That was the kind of Hail Mary I had, but I'd have to win the turn for that. So in combat, the only combat was up here, and I did like 1 damage, I think, to that guy, maybe. And he was able to clear off that Stegadon. But that's okay. This guy's not going to move, and I still have heroes within range, and all I got to do is keep 1 in range, so it wasn't really that big a deal. So at the end of my turn, I score 1, and now it comes down to roll-off. If I don't win the roll-off, it's for sure over. If I win the roll-off, I have to have a million things go my way, and maybe I could make it work. The objective does go to the middle, so that's good. So that goes along with my plan. But then roll-off, I roll another 1 for roll-off, and so it is 100% over at this point. So game over. We shook hands at that point, because he can just basically back up here if he wants to. Doesn't have to do anything here. He'll capture those, and there's absolutely no way I can win at that point. So, good game. We killed. So there's the final tally there. We didn't play out my last turn because we didn't need to. There's how many plague monks I killed. So it was maybe about 130 plague monks I killed. So we killed off quite a few, but it just wasn't enough to outlast. And the double turn from 2 to 3 was really brutal because he was able to get into Kroak and the engine. But again, if I didn't get the priority initiative from 1 to 2, it would have been over in turn 2, I think, because he would have just gotten everything into me. So I think I need a few more screens in this list. But it's hard to play with screens because you have to get the Stegadons within 8 inches in the shooting phase. And so if you play with screens, you're gonna fight against your own model because you got to be in close. And these guys, they're good at killing hordes, but they're not really good at defending against hordes. So overall, yeah, they didn't kill as many plague monks as I had hoped. We're looking at, based on those stats there, man, we were we had 45 plague monks killed by the flamethrowers, but the vast majority of those came from the chief when he got to activate. So I think the chief is viable probably as a flamethrower, but I don't think I would use a full army of flamethrowers. One might work because you can send that kind of kamikaze into a horde, but you got to make sure and set up that range to get them in, because you're not going to be able to alpha too easily turn 1 because they move 8. You can get them to run and charge, so you could technically move them, 16, and then they have, no, not 16. What am I doing? 14, and then they have an 8-inch range, so 22-inch threat range. You can add +1 to run from the Constellation, but still, you're not getting anything in range turn 1. So it's more of a counter attack unit, I think. I don't know that I'll play too many flamethrowers. I think maybe a flamethrower chief might find a way into my list. But overall, I think I like the normal Stegadons better that have the crossbows that can hit from 24 inches away and do 3 damage each. I think I can do more damage with those guys. But good game, a lot of fun. We killed a lot of monks. Monks are nasty in combat. You've got to figure out a way to either punch them first or take out the heroes. And I wasn't really able to do either. I killed a lot, but it wasn't quite worth it. So what do you think? Did you like the Plague Monks?
Yeah.
Did you like how many dice they roll?
Yep.
It's a little different than your normal Stormcast, right?
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the monk list?
Attacking with the monks.
Attacking with them? Because they'd have 3 or 4 attacks each.
Yeah.
They'd have a whole bunch of attacks, especially when I think with 8 of them you were rolling. It was something crazy. You had them pumped up a whole lot, 30-something attacks. Re-rolling their hits. 6s cause extra hits on the wounds. Yeah. All right, good game. Let me know what y'all think. Anybody running flamethrowers on Stegadons? Have they found a good way to use them? Or are you just using them as the hero on Chief so you can kind of double tap that one? All right. Catch y'all later.